Hello, I'm going to show you how I make my snowflakes, and these are drawings I do with pen and ink on black paper, and I take an object and I draw it 6 times over, repeating it, and you'll see that they come in many different sizes: small, large, smaller still, and I think they're quite a lot of fun. And just like the real thing, snowflakes, just like the real snowflake, there are no two that are alike, because they're all individually drawn. For example, here's 2 different versions of a pruning shears for a gardener. So here you have the points together, and here you have the points open. And each one shows a different light source. So they're all, again, very different from each other. Here's another one. Object is drafting set tools, which lend themselves to a very delicate shape. Here's another one with the points in and the handle to the top. Same object drawn differently, the points out with the handle toward the middle. And again, looking at them close, you see the line work and the cross-hatching that's done. Show you a couple more here. Some of them are very angular and graphic, like this zigzag carpenter's ruler. An umbrella. Sometimes it's hard to see what the objects are. This is, in fact, a jackknife. You can just look at one of them, zoom out, and then it becomes a pattern. A pair of fur-lined gloves. A stick of Wrigley's gum. I don't know if this is doublemint or spearmint, but a stick of gum. And speaking of food, French fries, McDonald's fries here, and something as simple as a pencil. So I've drawn many hundreds of these, thousands probably. Needle and thread. Here's a little upholsterer's tack. Anyway, quite fun. Thimble. Anyway, I'll show you how I do these in 1 minute. What I do is I first draw sketches of various objects that I plan on using into a snowflake. Egg beater, shears, ice tongs, ice cream scoops, for example. And then I draw hexagons and figure out how they're going to overlap each other. They have to overlap, otherwise the 6 individual items will just fall apart when I cut them. So I plan out how they're going to overlap, usually in a sketchbook like this one. And then I will take the sketchbook, move it aside, and then I will cut out on the black paper hexagons like this. Draw the grid, and then I'll draw the object. Let's say it's a thimble, like this, and then have them touch, and draw them all the way over. Now this one isn't very interesting, I can see, so I'll probably turn this over and try something else with a more overlap or more interesting shape. And they overlap, in a particular way, and they make a nice pattern. Here's something that looks like it could have been a fishing pole. Oh no, this is looks like a wishbone. So this would have been a wishbone here. And then here's the other top of the wishbone. The one arm comes out to the corners, and the other one goes in toward the middle. So eventually I get to the inking process. Here you see a microscope, and I've only partially inked it in. The ink you have to shake up in this bottle, and you get out your pen and ink dip pen, and then you start drawing the microscope. Each time I draw it with a slightly different light source, so the light comes from the left on one and maybe right on the next one, so that there's variety between one image and the next. And then I usually have to shake the bottle of ink because it's very thick ink, and then change the pen nibs quite often too, because they get used up very quickly too. So let me just show you some that are finished here, ready to be cut. Here's a quilt and needle and thread. Here's another quilt and needle and thread. This has already been cut out, you see. Here's another one that has not yet been cut out. Here's tragedy and comedy masks. The same masks, but from a different angle. So again, no two are alike. Here's a little fishing fly. A hammer with the heads out for the edge. A hammer with the heads toward the center. So these are how they're drawn, and then I cut them out. So I'll show you that in a second. In cutting out the snowflakes, you do have to first erase the pencil lines, because you won't be able to do that after you cut the paper, because it'll be too delicate. So get rid of all the pencil marks, and then you get out your pointy X-Acto knife and you cut. I usually need to start with the more delicate portions that are inside of the shape and work my way out. Because if you'd go the other way, you need the strength of the paper has to be part of what allows you to cut them out. If you cut them out the other way, you'd end up tearing the paper. At this point, then, you can cut around the outside of this one. I'll just show you on this one what would happen if I did it the other way around. If I did it this way first, if I cut this out, the outside first, and cut the inside, and then cut in between these two threads, you might end up tearing it. It looks like I won't in this case, though. It's a little bit stronger than I thought. So normally I cut on a self-healing mat board or a cutting board here, but I thought this would be easier for you to see. So that's how they're cut. Hello, I'm going to show you what you can do with these snowflakes, all these snowflakes I've designed, and I'll show you what people have done with them. First, to recap, I draw, hand draw, and cut out snowflakes based on objects. This one you see, these are all 5 different snowflakes based on the same source, which is Oxford wingtip dress shoes. And each one is differently composed. Each one and each shoe within the composition is the light sources coming from a different point of view. So even no two shoes are alike in the in each individual flake. Another fun one to do was this one. Let me just cancel that out of the way. Was this one, and these all are the same subject. Let's see if you can guess what they are before I tell you. Some of them you see are look almost starched. Some are more realistically drawn. They are the ever popular jockstrap. So you see the wide band and the thin bands and that pouch thing, and all of them are different. All of them are composed differently, as you can see. Probably this one is the easiest one to recognize. You see even here they're a little bit different. You see they alternate between front and back view. Most of the time I don't do that. Here's another one that does that. Front, back, front, back, front, back. These are all from the side. So those are fun, I think. People have purchased these things individually from me. And for example, this one, I don't know if you're going to be able to see because of the reflection of the glass, but this one is a comedy and tragedy mask, and they are often framed in these sorts of frames where you have the glass on both sides so you can see through them. You can hang them on a white wall without problems, but if your wall has wallpaper, then you might want to just put a piece of paper back behind the frame like this to just hide the wallpaper. And you could also, if you wanted to, have the paper change colors if you want. Other people have purchased groups of them and framed them. These are all about fishing poles, lures, fish hooks, fly fish. And sometimes people put them together in larger groups. These objects that are drawn could represent hobbies and interests that the family members might have. They might just be things that the buyer liked, whether it be a subject matter or just the way the objects looked. Every year at Thanksgiving, I'm invited to dear friends who have a very beautiful house in the North Shore of Massachusetts, and their mantelpiece, as you can see, is very stark. They normally don't have anything above the fireplace. No picture of the card-playing dogs, no seascape, because they have the ocean right outside their window. They don't need to have a picture of it. And every year at Thanksgiving, I'm invited up there, and we hang the decorations for the Christmas season. And what I do is I bring a group of all my snowflakes that I still have, and each member of the family gets to choose one. So every year for the past decade or so, they have been choosing snowflakes. Each family member, there's 4 people in the family, each family member usually picks a flake that represents some aspect of their life that happened in the preceding year. It might be a new job, it might be getting a trophy in soccer, it might be learning how to play the cello. And part of the fun that we have every year is, as we unpack these and put them up, we go down memory lane. And, well, this is what Conrad did this year, and this is what Emma did that time. And it's really a fun way to keep stories alive and to visit things past. Anyway, so we started, there's one here in the corner you can see, the first one, and then they get more and more and more are added. finally the wall is entirely covered in snowflakes, and it's really quite fun. I don't usually see them, see the work that I've done very often. They just are in a box in my studio here, but when I go to visit their house, it's really a lot of fun for me too. Other practical purposes for the snowflakes are holiday cards. This is one that I designed for my parents to give out one year. And it's this accordion folded thing with 1, 2, 3, 8 flakes, each one representing a member of the family. So the first one, fishing poles, that was for my brother who loves to fish. The second one, pen and ink, that was representing me, the artist. The anchor represented my other brother who loves sailing. The comedy and tragedy masks represented my father who at the time was doing set design, helping with set designs in his town, city. The one below that is knitting, and at the time I'm thinking, yeah, I think that was my mother who was knitting something, some blankets, I believe, sweaters maybe. The one below that, needle and thread, that was for my sister-in-law who was making quilts at the time. Below that, a model airplane was for my nephew who was interested in that at the time. And finally, the ballet slippers represented my niece who was studying ballet. So this was the Christmas card that they sent out that year. Other cards I've designed for people, this is for a writer in New York City who was working on a number of books, and he wanted a snowflake with a typewriter. So it's a snowflake you see made of typewriters. His initials JDS are typed on the paper. There's also an old-fashioned typewriter eraser you see here, the brush and the pencil. And he had a dog named Lovey, so there's a dog collar with an L on the tag and a dog bone. Another one that was recently done was for a couple who had their first child, and the birth announcement and holiday card were combined into one. So here you see snowflakes in falling, beautiful, falling against a blue sky, and there are 5 flakes, 6 flakes, I guess, that represent a baby. First of all, the one in the center, a perambulator, and above that, to the right, we have the milk bottle, the safety pin on the upper left, a set of blocks, and a teddy bear, and a pacifier. And the caption on the inside said something like, "Christmas sure looks a lot different this year," and then it announced the birth of their son, and it had a picture on the inside as well. So that's what these snowflakes can do when they're not in a box in my studio. They actually live outside, and a lot of people have fun with them. So that's it. Talk to you later. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.